All right, we're live. Cool. Thanks everyone for joining in. Whoever is watching now or in post later. I'm excited about this conversation with James and Jay. You guys say hi.
I'll let James go first.
Oh man, hey, we're both being just courteous and waiting. Yeah, I'm so glad to be on here. This is
Hey, Jason
exciting.
Morris is watching.
All right.
Of course he is.
Sweet.
Of course he is. Wait. Share a little bit about your.
Yeah.
We should probably
Yeah. Yeah.
intro
Introduce
our.
yourself and we'll let everybody know who we are.
All right. Cool. I'm James Eaton. I'm the online director at Highlands Fellowship Church, which is in Southwest Virginia, Northeast Tennessee. We have six plus our online campus, and I have been in this role for 6 months, so I'm pretty new to this actually. Yeah, and so got connected with George through Neil's podcast. So if he watches this, hey Niels, thanks for making this thing happen. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
That's awesome, man. I'm Jay. I'm the Jay Kranda. I'm the online pastor at Saddleback Church, and so do been doing online ministry for 5+ years, and it's really cool what just the community. I've met most of you guys in various different ways, but there's a common link between the digital online leaders Facebook group that a lot of people interact with. So I'm really pumped to be hanging out and talking more about online ministry, YouTube, and everything in between.
Yeah. So I am George. I am a part of Salem Lutheran Church. The cameras are not automatically switching, and I'm not sure why. But I'm a pastor at Salem Lutheran Church. I've been a member of Salem for a very, very long time, over 20 years, actually since I was born. So. So I've been a part of this Church Online stuff for now just over a year. If you listen to James Eaton's weekly podcast, then you'll hear kind of how I got into this. But yeah, we've been doing this for about a year now. We started in January of 2017. So somewhat new to this, but been going at it for a while. And this whole thing kind of started as an opportunity for us all to talk through Church Online stuff. I was talking with James frequently, and Jay once in a while as well. And so we were kind of just talking like, man, why don't we just share these conversations and learn from each other and talk through all this? So that's kind of where this came from. I don't pretend to be an expert about Church Online in any way, but I've done a decent amount with it. I actually wrote a thesis on online ministry, and have been doing this for a year since we launched. But of course, been prepping since before that. So been working on it for Salem for about 2 years. So that's my desire is to learn from each other and from you guys who are watching and all that kind of stuff. So
Sweet. Well, I think we're gonna have a lot of fun, regardless of the fact. And I know that even the testimony of us figuring out how to do this right now shows the grit. I think a lot of people who are doing online ministry of just figuring it out and pushing through any hiccups or anything. So I'm pumped to learn and listen. And I think one of the benefits of online ministry has been like the shared wisdom. It's like the network effect of everybody is just, it's like so much different than just because most churches don't interact. If you're doing small group ministry, if you're doing executive pastor or church planning, like there's conferences to do it, and you have to go to like they figured out over long term. But I think Church Online, a lot of the people, because they were already online, and because a lot of the early ministries like Westside Family and Elevation and Life Church and all the other churches that started this 10 years ago, they just were so open-handed that I think the Church Online community generally is just a very generous in sharing what works and doesn't. So this is a product of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love the community that the Church Online pastors tend to share. I think we tend to be very open, and a lot of there's a lot of conversations that happen that are
We
really
actually should be
cool.
more competitive. We actually should be more competitive. I think we should be more competitive. I'm actually on this call to say that I'm challenging.
He's throwing the gauntlet down. That's funny.
So what we are wanting to do with this series is to take some time to share some stories about what is happening in Church Online, what God is doing, all that kind of stuff. And then go into whatever our topic is. And so, Jay, James, do one of y'all want to start us off with some stories of what God's been doing through your Church Online?
Sure, I can go. So, like I said, this is pretty new for me, just being like 6 months into Church Online. We've had an online campus for about 5 years at Highlands Fellowship. And so I was able to come into a role that people had already really built up, which is exciting. But I've been doing it for about 6 months and spent a lot of time at the beginning just praying about what it would look like for us to have that community online, what needs we could meet, how we could minister to people. And so two things that I really have been investing in. One is building up my volunteers. So people who are chat hosts, who are doing live prayer, who are helping me throughout the week do things, building up those people and really trying to build a community of people with some investment in online ministry. And that's helping get people to stick, right? Because it's easy to come to a church and leave. It's really easy to come to an online service and leave, or just to hop around or to not stay engaged. And so I've really built up our volunteers. And so we've like quadrupled the amount of volunteers we had since October, which is awesome. And so they're invested, they're chatting, they're engaging people, they're praying for people. And it lets me just kind of like even step back a little bit and just kind of lead them and encourage them to connect with those people versus me doing everything. And so from the beginning, I really wanted to set that kind of model of leading and helping people and then giving them responsibility and letting them serve others, because there's always more people to connect with. So that was a big thing for me, is raising up volunteers. And then the other thing for me is that I just made a decision a few months ago that like I would answer every email, Facebook, like legitimate message that we got. So nothing was too small, nothing was too big for us to engage on some level. And sometimes that's me responding personally. Sometimes that's giving it to someone on our team. Sometimes that's forwarding that information to one of our care ministry teams, or maybe it's actually more of a physical campus need. But I want us to respond to every question that we get. So if someone contacts Highlands Fellowship, like we will respond to you. And just kind of want to put that out there and challenge myself and really the rest of our team that, we want to take online really seriously. We want to engage with people and see them for who they are, which are people that God's created and that he loves, and that they have reached out to us for a reason. And so we want to engage with them. Nothing's kind of, too small or too big or off limits for us to try to meet those needs. So those have been two areas that I've really put a lot of investment in this year, working on more volunteer stuff, and then also developing some small groups. So that's challenge for 2018.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in my space, we've been focusing a lot on. We're kind of in this. We just did a planning a couple of days ago, and we feel like we're in this season of establishing roots. Something that God was kind of speaking to me in my own quiet times, was I've been reading First Kings and kind of reading about when Solomon was allowed to build the temple, and obviously David wasn't. They had this moving thing, the tabernacle, and then obviously they kind of established this roots. And I feel like our online ministry is in this season where about a year ago, I got the chance because of just leadership at my church and trusting everything, of hiring another full-time pastor, and that kind of helped me with small groups. And so we've had a lot of success in our small group ministry, but because of the amount of success, it was kind of the most consuming thing in my schedule. And so I wasn't really able to, I would say, expand other things. So when you're like planting a church, you're getting your services together and all your next steps. And then you're looking at small groups, and you're looking at maybe your classes or special events. And I felt like we were so kind of stuck in a way, just because of just growth. We couldn't really figure out how to like do other things. I couldn't, even with a great volunteer teams. And so with this new staff member, we've been in the season where I've been like, I think we're going to be laying down some new foundation, and we are making some new stuff. So something we really are getting excited for, which we haven't really had in the past, was having a more dynamic way to host our own live events. Because of the way we do our church online, the service is 24/7 essentially whenever it's not live. It's not an events page, but we want to be able to have more of a community experience. We have a Facebook group, which is super dynamic, and we have a lot of people in it, and it's great, but it's not really like a real-time event type of thing, because you can't really control the way the content is viewed or consumed. It's very limited. And then obviously because of the feed, everything gets pushed down. So it's not the ideal. Facebook Live into the group is great, but it's just not the same type of thing as like the Church Online platform offers, for example. And so I actually set up a Church Online platform page, which we're going to be using as our events page. And we have an event in 2 weeks. And I actually just bought a camera, and I'm buying a bunch of stuff to be able to host live events at a higher quality on our own as a team. So if you actually go to saddlebackchurch.churchonline.org, you can see our template, how we're doing it. But I'm really excited. That's something we've been really excited in, because I want to be able to host regular live events where we can talk to the Church Online community, and like I can have a live camera and I could sit there with my team and we can actually interact with people in the chat. So we're going to do a serve event here in a couple weeks, and then we're going to try something called I'm calling it hashtag after Saddleback, and we're going to do it after our last service on Sunday. So it'll be kind of like an after show, kind of like The Talking Dead or something like that. So I'm going to try that every month, and it's supposed to build community, build FaceTime between me and my team with the community. And we're going to be using ChOP as our backend, because it is an amazing. We don't use ChOP as our platform for our weekend. We have a custom built, but I was able to like sign up. And the funny thing is, with a lot of people probably watching this that use the Church Online platform, I haven't used it heavily. So the last 2 weeks has been my first time really like figuring out like, oh, that's how you duplicate an event. That's how you do that. That's so that's been our season, and it's fun, and it's good for me to figure out, because I recommend so many people to ChOP. It's been a good process for me to even do it. So I just signed up for a way to, we have a different streaming provider that we're going to be using just for these events, because they're kind of smaller. But I bought a live camera today, in a dongle to be able to connect to change it from HDMI to USB. So we're kind of like really fun, but it's going to be building community. I want to be able to have a community's events kind of, like center. And the Church Online page will be that building for us online.
That's really cool. That's a cool idea. I think for us here at Salem, one of the things that I've been excited about, I guess kind of two. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to say two things. One is our online Bible study has starting to pick up a little bit more steam. We pre-record those. So basically what we do is, instead of rebroadcasting our entire service, we rebroadcast the worship piece, and cut out the pieces that are more related to in the rooms, like your announcements and all that kind of stuff. And then, so you're left with worship, and then some custom announcements and video pieces in between of me or Joey Bluegee, who is our other. We actually have two online pastors, me and Joey. And so then we record our Bible study ahead of time. It's edited and put up. We just record it on our cell phone, which we found that people actually kind of like a little bit more than when we did it more professionally. So even though the worship is done really professionally, and then you get like this contrast to the Bible study, it's weird, but they seem to like it a little more, especially in post, when we cut just the Bible, because we'll post the Bible study piece separate from the worship in post. So we don't upload the entire service for people to watch again. We just pull out the Bible study piece. So that has grown. I think that's really been driven more by our Facebook group growing. We just started that last month. So that's gotten some growth. And then I told you I'd cheat, and I'd say two things. The other cool thing is that someone who was attending online is now in our new members class here at Salem. So that's pretty cool.
Wow, that's awesome. That is like, and how did you make do you guys have like a connection card where people ask like how you heard and they wrote that? How'd you make the connection?
That's actually something I've asked our communications team to add to our card. It was been a long time since I asked them to. I should maybe bring that up again. But no, the way that we found that out was that he told our pastor of care that's how he got connected with us. And it was cool because his first Sunday there, I got to meet him and his son and pray with them at our prayer kneeling rail after the service. And it had been so long since they had been in church that his son didn't even remember what church was like.
Wow.
And so they attended for maybe a month or so, and then ended up in our worship center. And now he's in our new members class, which is pretty cool. So
that's awesome. I know that that's something that there isn't a great, I would say, correlation between somebody watching and showing up. We promote it and it happens and there's conversations, but because for us, we have so many different campuses that it's kind of hard to make it like, hey, add this to the card because there's so many moving pieces. But I know I get calls all the time and it's like a good, bad thing. It's a great thing that it's happening, but it sucks in a way is when they tell me like 5 minutes before, they're like, hey, by the way, because we have 4 services that are a large campus. They're like, tell me 5 minutes before, hey, by the way, there's a guy here from Argentina or something and he wants to meet you. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to drive because I don't go to every service. So I get that a lot, which I think that's a heart check on my end of being like, what? And so we've been trying to tell more people. I just met somebody from Austria that's part of our community that was here, but we talked before, and I put a photo in our our Facebook group, and we keep saying, me and Pastor Kevin Lee, our small groups pastor, I keep saying, like, I tag him and I say, hey, if you're coming here, let us know in advance. We want to meet you. But I still think there's like, that's the funny thing of the same thing with like senior pastors with churches, because you're the online pastor, they still feel like you're not approachable and for some reason. And I'm like, no, like I want to like online pastors care about like physical community. So
right,
I know that sounds, people don't think that, but we do.
Yeah.
But I love that. I love the cart. I love that you're even talking about it because that's a great idea.
It was cool to see him jump in and be in the new members class. So yeah. Oh, sweet. All right. I was just looking to see. I finally got the videos to automatically switch back and forth between us instead of me having to manually click each time. So
is that a setting? Is that like a weird?
Yeah. Well, so it wasn't at first, and so I started manually switching. The cameraman app or whatever in Google Hangouts wasn't loading. Again, I'm on a loaned computer today. I was telling James and Jay before we started that my computer crashed this last week, and so I'm on a loaned computer and don't have everything loaded.
Real life. This is real life, people.
Yeah.
So our topic today, y'all ready to go ahead and jump into that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So our topic for today is Facebook versus the Church Online platform, which was recommended by Dave Adamson, Aussie Dave.
Don't trust that guy.
Oh, man.
No, just kidding. Shots fired. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's an interesting question to me, and I have not talked to either one of you about this beforehand, so I am looking forward to hearing what y'all think about it. I think I'll just answer kind of like what we do, how we treat the platforms at Salem, and we'll just go from there. So at Salem, we use the 2 platforms. I think for the end user, probably they don't see a huge difference in the way that we use them, but the philosophy behind how we approach them is really pretty different. As we look at our analytics, what we realize is that our viewer retention rates and engagement rates, like number of engagements per person, is much, much higher on the Church Online platform, like way higher. Our average view time on the Church Online platform is almost our entire service. And then you go to Facebook and it's not. Because there's this weird dynamic, right, where like people, you know, they're scrolling through, they see the live stream, great, grab their attention, but then there's that temptation to keep scrolling to your friend's cat video, you know, and like so it's weird because like there's too much, like there's so much there in Facebook, and like Facebook will even, like, if you click into the live video, the live comments, the comments on the live video are super wonky. They don't always show up like they're supposed to, and so
you can't reply to people directly, which is the most annoying thing on the face of the earth. I don't want to have to tag people. Like, and then if I'm not friends with them, I got to do like, it's like the search doesn't prioritize because I'm not friends with them or friends of friends with them. So the search is like, has its own algorithm. But yeah, like it's wonky. It's wonky. I totally echo that.
Yeah. And then like, even just with the way that the comments come in, like I'll switch back and forth between my personal account to comment as me and then Salem's account to comment as Salem, and switching between the two, I see different comments, and it's not security settings because I go back after it's over and archived and I see them all, but during the event they like disappear. So frustrating.
Well, because Facebook doesn't do chronological as its default. It's like top comment or whatever. But what does top comment mean?
Yeah,
right.
I will say that there is the one thing that I think I find I like the strategy of it. It doesn't mean like the application of it makes sense. Yeah, that people can watch a live event after the fact and still follow along with comments that were made in real time. That's an interesting thing. I remember years ago watching like Conan O'Brien, and they had an app that was like a second screen experience, and they did that, and they essentially would sync. They would use the audio of the show. I don't know if you guys remember. This was really, but anyways, like, so because right now you guys, like, if you're using the Church Online platform or you're using some other chat, those comments die after the event, and so if people are watching on demand, obviously it's not the same because they can't really talk to the person, but it's interesting to see that you can see the conversation happening. So it's weird. I don't think people really, I don't know. It might be one of those things where it communicates a value than what it actually offers, but I think I like the idea of it. I think there's still something in the application, but for sure to the comments.
Well, and one of the interesting dynamics too with the way that the comments are handled, like you mentioned on Facebook, those actually stay. On the Church Online platform, they disappear.
Yeah.
And so you almost have like this difference between like Snapchat and, or like Instagram stories where like they disappear after 24 hours. You get more rawness. I feel like, where like I'll see, I know for me, I don't know what y'all's experience has been, but I know for me, like I'll see more open honesty over on the Church Online platform, even when people are using their real name, not just with the anonymity, than I do on Facebook. Because like I know for me on Facebook, if I go to comment on a live video, I know there's a good chance that since that video is public, my aunt that I'm asking them to pray for is going to see that I commented that.
Yeah, I've noticed
and you guys both use the Church Online platform. Sorry, James. Yeah, you guys both use the Church Online.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I've had the same experience with Facebook Live being a lot of just like love the service, cool stuff, love the worship, like very generic. Where on ChOP, it's really detailed stuff. Now I will say that for us, I do Facebook Live for one of our streams, but only one. Only one service time at like 11:30. So the 10 o'clock is only on ChOP, and that's our biggest attended live service. Those are my like Church Online people, And then at 11:30, I was finding like a big drop off in engagement in chat and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? Let's just try Facebook Live and see if people are interested. And they totally have been. So that's been cool. And when ChOP has had problems over the last couple of months, which I think they've resolved because they're awesome. But man, I mean, right at like 11 o'clock, all that metric stuff would just tank it. And so if I hadn't been streaming on Facebook Live also, like we would have nothing. And it's not like the website said temporary, like, I mean, they couldn't get to our site. And so those weeks, it was awesome to for people to jump on and say, hey, I can't get on the online campus. It's like, yeah, we're having issues, but you can watch on Facebook. And so we just ported, and people have even suggested in the Facebook group for Church Online stuff that we're promoting this all through, that you could like temporarily like reroute your, like your domain even to another site, like to YouTube or whatever, if that happens again, which is a pretty good idea. So for me, that wasn't a thing I thought about, like ChOP going down, but man, that's been awesome that when it did, I had a secondary thing that people could find.
Yeah.
So I see value in that.
Yeah, that's the struggle of, that's, I could see the pros and cons on that, but for sure having a backup. Facebook is great because it's Facebook. So there's the support of that. And it's just, you just don't plan it. But even those people have, it's like when AWS goes down and half the internet has issues. It's just, it's just very rare, but you feel it.
But it happens.
Yeah. But it does happen. And us with Church Online, how they managed that. Even as somebody as an outsider, I was really impressed with like the emails that went out and the engagement. I think that they really handled that super well. But for us, we do Facebook Live typically once a month, and we pick one of our services. We don't, and a lot of it comes down to a lot of the same things that, George, you were saying, that it's just the engagement thing. We'll have, it just feels like 90% bounce after 10 seconds. And the other thing is, and everyone's a little different on this, but the way my attendance is counted is we get counted towards a 30-minute number. Mm-hmm. So we have a way to track that on our own streaming provider. So, if I look at a Facebook Live of our deals, we might have had 20,000 people see it. The 30-minute number, if I go down, even I can just go down to the audience retention and I drag it to the 30-minute mark. It's like 120 people. So like, and that's been the struggle of like, because it's not our process. And I don't know if you guys, the process isn't automated. It's a manual process. It's like 120 people. It's like 20,000. It's like faking me. And it goes down to 120 people. In our model, in the amount of people that watch on our Church Online to our TV apps and mobile apps and all that, like on a 30-minute number. But I do know the value of its reach and exposure, but people are bouncing. That's why right now we just do it regularly. We're looking at doing it every week here soon, but because it's not hard to do, but it's just, if I'm doing it for my goals, I'm not doing it for the Facebook Live isn't helping me directly with my 30-minute retention. Like if I go create an app on let's say Xbox tomorrow, like I know in my model, I could at least get another 500 people a week for a 30-minute number. But Facebook, because it's mobile, it's like this thing that is not just Facebook. It does all these other things. You're not going to keep a lot of people retention-wise, but the value is the exposure. So it's not the immediate rewards. It's that more people are going to hear about it, and that will lead to more people. So it's not an immediate win, but it is a win in exposure. And I would tell anybody, before you do anything serious with live, just start Facebook Living for sure. Right. So like to us, it's this pool. But like I think I posted in one of our Facebook groups, I posted our raw data of like one of our weekends of like, we went live 4 times. And if I look at it, it's like we went live 4 times on a weekend for all of our services, and people watch at least 30 minutes. But it was like something crazy, like 120,000 people saw it. It's so funny how that number goes all the way down to 500 like that. Yeah. And it just shows like it's not sticky. It's just people don't hang around. So ChOP has its own, it's just the engagement is so much next level. And that's it's so true.
Yep.
Yeah. And it would be hard. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I was about to tell you to go ahead. Like that's why, like for us with what we do, we use Facebook as like the front door, the sign on the end of the road, to grab attention, because it grabs. I mean, it grabs people attention, like crazy amount of people. And then it also because Facebook promotes it. Like you don't even have to try. Like they bump it up to. I mean, I get on my Facebook feed because I follow so many churches, and like the first 20 posts are all like live streams. Yeah, because Facebook bumps them all up to the top. And so what we do is we encourage the bounce, but we try to direct the bounce where we want them to go. And so we'll send them to the Church Online platform as much as possible. And then with the metrics that we have available for Facebook, we'll look at, who clicked the video, turned the audio on, and watched for at least 10 seconds. And with Facebook's analytics, that is as conservative as you can get, which I wish I could be more conservative with it, but you can't. But then, we just try to push everybody to the Church Online platform.
One thing.
Go ahead.
One thing I was going to say is when I started, we started doing Facebook Live in November-ish, one time per Sunday. And so I've been tracking views, 10 seconds plus minutes watched. And it's been cool to see that minutes watched thing drastically increase, every week and really every month, to where I'm getting more people watching for 10 plus seconds than I was views a month ago.
Yeah.
So they're watching longer, and I'm getting minutes really cool. Watched into the thousands now, where I was just getting like hundreds in the first few. So like, it's not as sticky in some ways, but doing it consistently for me has at least returned, like, people are watching longer, like triple the amount that they were watching. And sometimes those views aren't increasing as much as the 10-second and the minutes watched. So to me, that's like encouraging, because it's like we're casting a wide net, but people are watching longer. So that's a win. I don't know exactly how much longer, in some ways, but they do want to, people are watching for more minutes than there are people. So.
And it's totally true too. It's interesting now because with all the algorithm stuff with Facebook that's going on, it's interesting because like a lot of like video live content will be premium because the algorithm will prioritize engagement. And the one thing Facebook Live does is it does prioritize engagement. And so if you were going to post, let's say the new system is, do 5 posts a week on Facebook and it's only stuff that's going to get a lot of likes and comments. Well, for sure you're going to do a Facebook Live because you don't get a lot of comments and engagement. So it's like it's the easy thing to do. So I could see more people even doing it more occasionally just to make sure your church is still in people's feeds.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like outside of just the experience, like just keeping your stuff in front of people, doing live. So we did a live thing on Facebook Live this year for Advent. We did a whole devotional series on Facebook Live every day. One of our staff members would go live and share like a 5 to 10-ish minute devotional. Some people went a little longer, which is fine. But so we had 20, we did it really from December 1st to Christmas, but framed it kind of as an Advent devotional. And we had like thousands and thousands and thousands of people watch those. Unbelievable. Because we kept doing them. And it kept, like it really did prioritize in their news feed. So it was like Facebook rewarded us for consistency. So, like things like that was the most successful thing we've ever done and the highest viewership of any videos we've had. So, yeah, I think there's something to be said for consistent posting and sharing.
Yeah.
I watched a few of those myself. That was a really cool idea.
Cool.
Yeah.
One of the things too that you'll run into with Facebook Live, and I think I've seen this come up in the Online and Digital Church Leaders Facebook group a couple of times. But this also happens with YouTube, is copyright infringement issues, where your stream will be shut down if you're using a pre-service song that you have the right license to use, but Facebook and YouTube won't recognize it. And if you're careful, you don't have to worry about that, but you have to be willing to put in the work to be careful. And so there's kind of 2 things you can do to help with that at least that we found. One is to use the music provided by YouTube or by Facebook. They both have audio libraries you can use for your pre-service music. Yeah. 2, Joey Blue G, the guy I mentioned earlier, who's our other online pastor, he actually wrote into Facebook and gave them documentation of our licenses. And they actually did recognize that. And we've only had one issue since then. And it was one of those things where it popped up and it's like, hey, do you really have permission to stream this? And we were like, yes, we do. And the stream wasn't interrupted.
Yeah.
So you can work with them and you can make it happen, but you have to be willing to do the work, find the audio, use that stuff instead of the stuff that maybe you'd rather use, just because the licensing stuff is weird.
Yeah, I love to not attribute things on the audio library on YouTube. I love the fact that they have a whole thing there that you do not have to attribute. Now, I know the quality of it is not great, but I know with my own YouTube stuff, like I've ran into that where like, you know, well, you get flagged on multiple levels, but even like, you know, a video is not monetizable or whatever. And you're like, wait, I thought I did it right. And so I totally churches, it's a tough thing, but there's ways like you're talking about to do it that definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Like we've even used stuff from like, I don't know. Are y'all familiar with Juke Deck?
Mm-mm.
Juke Deck is it's supposed to be like this artificial intelligence music creator kind of thing where you pick a genre and like a mood and like an instrument type and it creates music for you. And it does a pretty good job. They, you know, again, they're not as great, just like the whole, you know, no need to attribute stuff with, you know, YouTube and Facebook. But even with that stuff, that's all royalty free. Like you literally, like you pay $2 to download the track. And you still will get dinged with that sometimes. And so being aware of what that platform recognizes as royalty-free music is really important. And sometimes you can find tracks that exist in both YouTube and Facebook, and then you're safe for both.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know people love, there's one I'm forgetting, but I know people love like Music Bed. I know that's one that Brady Shear talks a lot about, and a couple others, but yeah, that's there's all these multiple layers. But I will say the place of Facebook Live where it is now, and even YouTube, like when this was going on like a year and a half, 2 years ago, like people were just getting straight up blocked. And now it's a totally different thing. And it's interesting. Like I remember listening to somebody, they talked about how like Google had more issues with this. Like that's one of the reasons why, outside of strategy and probably just brain power, but like they had a lot of struggles because they were around longer. And so when they started live streaming, they had more like agreements with companies because of YouTube. And so like they couldn't just go out and do live contracts and say like, oh, we don't know what we're doing. So they had to be more rigid. And Facebook was able to just pull a trigger and just start doing it because they didn't have the same history with the movie and TV industry. Yeah. And it's interesting how like, that's why I think Facebook Live grew a lot quicker, and you had a lot of like random stuff I watched like 5 minutes of like a basketball game on Facebook that wasn't legal. Like there's no way it was legal.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not legal. But on YouTube, you couldn't get away with that because YouTube would kill it immediately. And it's because they've been around longer and they were in the video space and people were uploading like all sorts of stuff on YouTube. So they've already had like, it's like they were the grown up and they had to be the grown up, and Facebook didn't have to be the grown up. And it's just interesting how that creates two different atmospheres, which it stunted, I think, YouTube Live's growth. Essentially, a lot of people were scared because they were getting shut down a lot quicker.
Yeah. I was just looking over at some of the comments in the live chat. And I see Randall asked, why is it either or with Church Online and Facebook Live? Hopefully by now we've answered that. We don't see it as either or, just use both in a way that makes sense. Would y'all agree with that?
Yeah. Okay. I think top of the funnel, one's in the middle of the funnel. It's like thinking about how they connect. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily always bridge them. I think even putting links in your live stream of like saying, hey, to access the full notes and more, go here.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't make that bridge. So, thinking about that strategy.
Yeah.
Yep. And then let's see, Jason says it makes the...
Wait, let me flex as you talk about Jason. Because if you're talking about Jason more, he's super ripped.
He says it still pings them if they @mention. I think that was probably in reference to you saying that you can't reply to people's comments. That is true, which is really, truthfully, that's the same thing as the Church Online platform. So can't argue with that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Church Online platform, you can just @mention.
Yeah, that's true. They both need reply features.
Yeah. The whole running live thread thing is. Yeah, it's like, I mean, anyways, besides the point. I also think Jason is one of the few people that I think takes brain medicine at the fastest speed possible mentally. If you've ever had a conversation with Jason Morris, you feel like whatever synapses are going, he has like 3 times the amount of energy. He's like running on premium gasoline. He pays the extra $2 for the premium gasoline. I think that's him. That's how fast he moves.
Like Gary Vaynerchuk level.
Yes. No, 100%.
He also said, he was like, but it's measuring attention. With folks on site, we have no idea of attention. How do we know that someone on site isn't sitting with his coffee and checking out the girls down the row and not listening to the message? Online attention is measured and on site isn't, which is a good point. It's a good point.
It's totally a good point.
Yeah. Yo, I mean, like, that's something we've realized with our, we've been on Roku and Amazon Fire for a couple of years now. And what's abundantly true is that if somebody hits play on Roku or Amazon Fire, they're not exiting. It's like the retention is like 99%, like above. And it's because they can do multiple things. They can be on their phone and stuff. So, I mean, that is an interesting insight into how the level of engagement. But I would say, like, the Church Online platform, if somebody is manually going to your URL, they're way more interested and committed of a person than a person who's just getting thrusted into a live experience, because it's just a different thing. The same reason, I mean, it is true, like, somebody coming to your service, like, they made the decision, but also there's a social pressure for them not to leave. Like, they can't just bail. I mean, people do bail halfway through and make a big, but you get 70%. And I was like, I didn't want to hear this guy talk today, and just
awkwardly leave, like, oh, I'm done.
That is one of the things that's so different about Church Online, is that you literally can, like, you're not going to see someone like pop in like halfway through the message, like walk in and go, no, and walk out.
Yeah.
Like on campus, but on Church Online, like, you will.
Yeah. The only way you could work around that is if you actually, like, if you did like a tagging where that people knew, if there was more of a social accountability, it's like people knew that you came to this thing. It's almost like a party you don't want to go to, but like you just show up, and it's, if you had that mentality, is like they just have to see you long enough. If you had something like that, I'm not saying that's the thing to do, but like you would get more people. But it's like such a, it's like such an interesting thing. Like, people like, oh, like our it's like rude, our guest speaker, like, engagement. Like, we get a guest speaker, it's just, people are just like, unless we have somebody that's like crazy, like popular, it's like, who's this guy? And it's like, I can tell you right off the bat, like 5 minutes into the sermon, if they're engaging or not. And if they're not engaging, oof.
Yeah,
that's funny.
There's no social pressure to sit through something with your phone in front of you. You're like, I don't care.
Yeah, we should start calling out IPs. That's what we should do. We should start calling out IPs real time. Hey, I see you, Samuel. IP 179.5.
Montana, you're out.
Or like if the map on the Church Online platform had names, you know what I mean? It's like names attached to it, like, that would be, anyways.
And rankings. Who stayed the longest? You get points. Sure.
Yeah.
It does have a ranking for who has clicked in via the unique URL of the user, which is cool. Like, true. I can see like which host has had the most click-throughs on their social posts, emails, that kind of stuff. And that's kind of cool.
Well, let's figure out how to leverage that for social pressure. So
I know, like I kind of want to do like a leaderboard, like a public leaderboard. Here's the host that's doing the most.
Well, you could do like, a couple years ago, what was popular was that clout thing for Twitter. I don't know if you guys ever used
Oh
that.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
if you did like a measurement, this is so now anybody who's watching, we got into a total dumb idea. But some dumb ideas lead to great ideas.
That's right.
So I think. So you just do a clout. You do like your measurement of like, oh great. If you did like it's an engagement score of like, okay, you get 5 points for attending a service, 5 points for active comment. Like you did like an engagement thing. And then you did the
1
top
point
10
for every heart.
Oh man.
Every friend you reference, yeah.
Yeah, invites are like 100 points.
Yeah, you invite someone and they raise their hand for salvation, you get like 70 points, and yeah.
Yeah, or you could buy points.
Like
just straight
giving
up.
would increase.
Yeah, they're only giving to get points, but they are giving.
And then just top it all off. You get to trade your points in for like a communion set.
Yeah. I like that. Or a signed copy of your pastor's book. I like that.
Oh, there you go.
You do.
Yeah.
You get the purpose-driven life. You get the purpose.
Yeah.
Just helping Rick out.
That's so
Just every chance you get.
Oh, funny. Man, well, good conversation. We're at just about an hour now. That went by like really fast. Yeah, that was cool. Thanks, guys. So my hope is that as we continue this, we can have some of you guys who are watching join in this conversation as well. Because just the more I go through through the social medias, through the interwebs, I see that there's just so much knowledge out there and people who are doing unique things that like nobody else is doing. And y'all have ideas that I'm sure haven't even crossed some of our minds. And so I hope to have some of y'all, be a part of this conversation. And thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah. Jay, are you going to do one of your after service things before we do another one of these?
What's the next date? When is the next date of this? I don't even know my calendar.
Last Thursday of the month. Let's see.
Oh, last Thursday.
February 22nd.
Yep, February 22nd.
Just sent. I don't think so. That's a good question. Okay. Yeah, I think it might.
I just want to hear about that.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I'll yeah, I don't think so, but I'll check it out. I will be using the report back on my first time experience on a live event on ChOP, but yeah. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for checking this out. This is a fun conversation.
Yeah, and thank you, George, for setting all this up, for making it happen.
I'm glad
we've all had these conversations with each other, and it was like, well, we could just like all talk together and invite other people in.
Right.
Why not?
Yep. Also, thank you everyone who submitted topic ideas. Holy cow, that was a lot of I've got like a list of like almost 40 different topics from you guys. So as these conversations come up and you keep getting ideas, like let us know, tweet us, whatever. There's, I don't know, Facebook, the Facebook group, however you're connected with us. Because we want to talk about stuff that we're all interested in and not just be our own little echo chamber of George, Jay, and James, which by the way is kind of fun to say.
James. Yeah, that is true.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, y'all have a great month, and we'll talk again next month. Last Thursday of February 22nd, same time probably, but we'll put that out there.
Cool.
Sweet.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Talk to y'all later.